is just we care very much for your safety. We know that some of you had some safety issues on last Wednesday, so that's an important part of keeping everyone safe, especially the press and the people who have a vital service to the public like you do. So if you do perceive any kind of threat or any sort of problem, please let a uniformed officer know, and we'll attend to it as quickly as we possibly can. And we all just need to be situationally aware. I think from last Wednesday till today, I think we're all aware that we've kind of turned a page in history, and people are behaving in ways that they simply have not behaved in our country in a long time, and they're confusing sometimes their passions and their political beliefs with a righteousness that we've just not seen, an entitlement to do things that they shouldn't do, including harassing, threatening the members of the press. That's illegal. We're just not going, just as we're not going to allow someone to breach the Capitol and occupy the Capitol because it's an illegal act, just as we're not going to allow someone to get into the governor's residence because that's an illegal act. Harassing the press and threatening anyone is an illegal act, and we will respond to that with firm resolve. I'm going to introduce now Sergeant Darren Wright. He is the Public Information Officer for this campus. He's a 30-year veteran of the Washington State Patrol, and he'll have a few words to say about the tactics and the situation that we're seeing today. Each one of our guests will come up and say a few words, and then if you don't mind, we'll hold questions till they've each had a chance to say something, and then we'll take your questions one at a time. All right? So, Darren.
Morning, everyone. My name is Sergeant Darren Wright. I'm the Headquarters Public Information Officer for the Washington State Patrol. So as you can see, the Washington State Patrol, in coordination with the Washington National Guard, have partnered up to increase security around the Capitol building in response to expected unpermitted activities and protests that are scheduled to occur here today. We were here yesterday. Thankfully, we had no significant issues and there were no arrests made. Today, we have made one arrest. An RV pulled up to the one of the gates, refused to remove the vehicle, continued to block the roadway. All the subjects in the vehicle were given the opportunity to leave. Several chose to do so. One female, the driver of the vehicle, refused to comply and was arrested as a result. The Washington State Patrol has been charged with protection of the legislative building and the legislators inside while they conduct their business. We will complete this mission, and we will protect them, and business will go on as scheduled. Thank you.
All right. And now we're going to hear from the Washington State National Guard.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Karina Shagrin. I'm the Communications Director for the Washington Military Department. As you're all aware, last week, Governor Inslee authorized the use of up to 750 members of the Washington National Guard. It's important to note that we do not self-deploy. We only respond when requested. Our men and women are trained for this. They're happy to support the State Patrol, which requested their assistance over the weekends, and we will be here as long as necessary. More than happy to answer questions at the end. Thanks.
And now from the Department of Enterprise Services, which is basically the state agency that's charged with maintaining, managing all state properties, Jennifer is going to come speak to us.
Good morning, everyone. Jennifer Reynolds, Communications Manager with the Department of Enterprise Services. Just a few key points. The buildings on the Capitol campus have been closed to the public since March due to COVID. Right now, some select roads and trails, particularly roads, are closed to prevent the risk of someone driving into crowds of people practicing their First Amendment rights on the Capitol campus. Today in the Legislative Building, the House will convene at 11 a.m. and the Senate will convene at noon. In order to get more information about how to contact your legislators, you can go to www.leg.gov/LIC or call 1-800-562-6000. And that's about it. I'll take questions when we're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. When we come back up to answer questions, I'll ask each of our guests to say and spell their names because I know that's an important part for our video resources. I'm Chris Loftus, C-H-R-I-S, L as in Larry, O, F as in Frank, T as in Tom, I, S as in Sam, and I'm the Director of Communications for the Washington State Patrol. And we'll begin with questions.
Any chatter of additional threats today that you didn't know about yesterday, Chris?
Turn that over to Sergeant.
And that's Sergeant Darren Wright, D-A-R-R-E-N, W-R-I-G-H-T. We're continuing to monitor any chatter we see, and we monitor other platforms and stuff, but no additional threats beyond what we were already aware of that I know of.
The arrest that you talked about, Sergeant, was there anything beyond motive that you were able to find out about motive? Did the people say why they were there and why they refused to remove the RV?
We're still talking to those people, to that individual. I don't know if what she said and what they've revealed on that, but the investigation will continue on. It's still too early to know any of that.
When did the RV pull up, Sergeant?
The RV pulled up, I'll have to get you the time, I'm not sure. It was just about an hour ago or so.
And was it on Sis Snyder or right out?
Yeah, it was at the south end of the West Campus, yes.
Okay. We'll keep questions for Darren right now.
The order is up to 715 National Guard members.
I'll let Karina answer that.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How many National Guard members are actually present?
Yeah, you know, for security reasons, I'm not going to talk about operational decisions. Please remember that when we support a jurisdiction that requests our help, we're basically an extension of that agency. So we're working under the direction of State Patrol, and I'll let State Patrol release those numbers if they're willing to do so.
Karina, another question for you. Realize you may not be able to answer, but
Yeah.
if I may try. When Guards members were called up to Seattle for the protest, they were specifically called up unarmed. I understand some of the Guard members are armed here. Is that accurate? Why are they armed when they were not armed for Seattle?
So Essex, we always arm, we base our decisions to arm our men and women based on the level of threat that they face. They have the equipment to not only protect property, but their lives and others, right? Their lives and the lives of those who are here. Again, for security reasons, we're not going to talk about those decisions. We've learned a lot since last summer. We've learned even more in the last week. And for the safety of our guardsmen, for the safety of everyone who visits this campus, including all of you, we're not going to talk about that today.
Karina, for the timeline, sorry, we were hearing that they were up for about 48 hours. Is that until the end of today, or has that been extended?
That will be up to the State Patrol. They'll be here as long as needed. Yeah.
Sergeant Wright, there are people at the gate where legislators and staffers were going in. There are people who are being held out saying this is a public building. Someone tried to pull up a car or RV on state capitol campus property. What do you say to folks who don't understand why we need to turn people away from the people's house?
Well, actually, I believe that'd be a DES question. The buildings have been closed since March, as she said, due to COVID. This is not a shutdown due to anything beyond the building was already closed down for COVID. So
Obviously, there's more security than there was a week ago.
right, due to the information that has been posted online and recent events, we have to take precautions and be prepared, and we've staffed up. As I said, the Washington State Patrol has been tasked with protecting the building and assuring that the legislature is able to do their job and conduct their business, and we're going to make sure we fulfill that mission.
Sergeant, what is your message to those who may say, I'm going to show up at the State House and we're going to take this building like they took the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C.?
We're not going to let that happen. We have the staffing and the manpower and the resources to make sure that that building stays secure and the legislature is able to do their business.
Sergeant, there was
Until the risks are minimized, until we feel it's safe to lower them.
Let's repeat the question.
The question was, how long do they expect to keep these processes in place? So, and that'll be until we feel that it's safe to do so and to reduce those processes.
Sergeant, there was a highly publicized incident on Wednesday at the governor's mansion where an armed man made death threats against journalists. Can you provide any update as far as that investigation?
The question was the threats that were made to journalists last Wednesday at the incident that occurred here. Our detectives are continuing to investigate that situation, and we'll update that as it comes on. But we're working harder to ensure the safety of everybody, to include the journalists that are here today.
That potential suspect has been identified online. Have detectives reached out to that person who's been identified online?
That's an active investigation, so I can't comment on that specifically. So detectives are investigating and using all the resources they have to make sure that case is sent to the prosecutor appropriately.
Can you say whether or not that person has been arrested?
That person has not been arrested as of the details that I know as of this morning.
Do you think the rain is going to diminish the number of people that show up today here to protest?
We never can tell. Weather does tend to affect, sometimes it affects participation in these events, but there are people that have the resolve and that want to express their First Amendment rights, and we'll always respect those rights. We just ask the people that do show up to express their rights to do so in a peaceful and a lawful manner.
Dr. Wright, how concerned are you with demonstrators showing up fully armed and confronting your office?
People that show up fully armed isn't the concern. It's an open carry state. We're always concerned with how people carry weapons and what they do with those weapons. So the mere act of carrying a weapon is not the issue for us. It could be a bat, it could be a rifle, it could be anything. It's whether that weapon is brandished or used in a threatening manner that concerns us, not just the fact that people are carrying an item.
This is a unique response in the sense, New York State just did their state address. They can have a similar response. Other Capitol buildings are boarding up, but don't necessarily have an armed guard standing on the outside. Is this at all overkill? Or would you, I know it's not covered, but what would you say?
I'll let Mr. Lopez.
I had the opportunity to speak to the governor yesterday about that very thing. The question was, is this overkill? And I will just say that if at the end of the day we're able to take these fences down, and at the end of the day we're able to, for the National Guard to leave and for all of our troopers to go back to their home assignments, and no one was hurt, this was a successful mission. We do not consider it overreaction when we keep people safe, and that's our mission.
Chris, have you ever seen anything like this in your time in law enforcement? What do you make of this moment in time?
I've not. My time in law enforcement pales compared to Sergeant Wright's, but I will say that, as I said in the early moments, I think we really have turned a page as a country and a state. I think we are seeing things. For instance, someone asked about the gate, the governor's gate, the other day. We allowed 100 years of experience that no one had ever tried to breach the gate convince us that no one ever would try to breach the gate. We were wrong. We're going to have to change our approach to the gate, the mechanisms, the way it's, the manpower, the security systems that are seen and unseen. We're going to have to increase those. We're going to have to do that all through our campus. Many of you knew me when I worked for the Kent School District, and school districts for years have been having to increase security far beyond what the comfort level was just 10 years ago. All government offices and installations are simply going to have to realize we're in a new world. That doesn't mean it's some draconian world where democracy dies and there's no longer, the rain always comes and the sun will never shine. It just means we're in a different place. We just have to recognize that. 911 was another event of that nature where we had to change the way we worked in airports and our travel. This is going to be an event that's going to change the way we manage our government facilities. Other questions?
A question for you. If you get a little closer to the mic.
Yes.
Being involved in keeping the inside of the buildings safe from the spread of COVID, I wonder if you might talk about what the lawmakers are doing to be sure that nobody gets sick while they have this session.
I can't speak specifically to the lawmakers, but I can speak specifically to our buildings and grounds crews who have been frontline workers, working very hard to keep everything sanitized and clean and safe in all of our public buildings.
Is your staff assisting? I understand there may be temperature checks inside. Is your staff assisting with anything like that?
I'm sorry?
I understand there may be temperature checks inside. I wondered if your staff was assisting in that.
I'm not aware of our staff assisting in that.
I believe that's the House and Senate staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Chris, yesterday we saw a state rep calling for those fences to be taken down. What are your thoughts on that?
Our response to that is we want those fences taken down as well. We want them taken down as soon as they can be. The minute the threat is reduced to a point where we can, we will. We have the largest single Capitol campus in the United States. It's almost 500 acres. I've traveled a lot. I have to say we have the most beautiful Capitol campus in the United States. Those fences are ugly. Those fences are an affront to our freedoms and to our democracy, but those fences are necessary for our safety today, and they're going to stay there as long as the safety needs are in place.